What we gonna do?
Whew, Jesus, I mean, you just said a lot in 21 minutes, Q. So I'm like, wow. So, well, Q. All right. So let me say this: in terms of the Titans, weren't the Titans defeated by the Olympians, and they say that the ash of the Titans or whatever is what our soul is made of.
All right. So here we
So
go.
yeah,
So once the Homo sapiens got reduced down to 30, 40 people,
yeah.
see, when science says something is extinct, it's not extinct. It's just a very, very small amount of numbers.
You mean
So
30% or 30
no,
people?
30 people.
Oh shit.
There were 30 human beings at a time left on this planet when Neanderthals were the most dominant species on our planet. They ate almost all of humanity. This is also the concept of Jesus, eat of me. This is a ritual of Neanderthal practice, the consuming of bodies. And you're consuming organs and you're consuming meat of these individuals. Now, why? All right. And then their teeth were strong enough to even eat the bones. So bone marrow, which is almost like 0 point energy, these individuals became like super beings consuming humans. But
Mm.
and the problem with it was like a delicacy. Like they were strong enough to attack elephants, they were strong enough to attack lions, and that was something that they would go through. But them species are never as seasoned as ancient man. Ancient man was undefeated. The type of shit we was doing. So to capture ancient man is filet mignon. So they were doing this, but it got to the point where they consumed almost all of humanity. So this is what had to happen. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I'm gonna show you 1 second. I'm gonna show you 1 second. This is what had to happen. Boom. Right here. I don't know if you can hit that. All right. Y'all all seen this.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Oh,
this
shit.
is a dinner plate.
Oh, shit.
Dinner is served. Who is this individual? This is an albino. So according to what I've learned in via regression, that, and they called themselves orcs, by the way. They did not call themselves titans. They called themselves orcs. Like what you see in movies, like Lord of the Rings. They called themselves orcs. All right. So it got to the point where they consumed so much of humanity that they had to now start to eat their own. And the first titan to be eaten was an entity known as fangs. Another word of it would be like fangs. This is where you get the idea of a vampire from. They have fangs. This is where you get the idea of Dracula. All this stems from the consuming of this albino titan. This is the best way to conceptualize it. And it isn't just albino, it's transparent. And they can't really show you that via paint, but this is transparent. This was an entity that represented transparency. So a part of transparency is honesty. So a form of being honest is to be frank. This is why the Olympics is in France, because France means to be free, to be open. Let me be frank with you. And Frank and Charlie means the same thing, free man. So what they did was they took a titan that was loving, caring, willing to be transparent with the whole tribe, Christ, and they crucified this entity and then ate of him. And this was starting the practice of the ritual of sacrificing a loving being, something that's willing to help humanity. And this is what this is representation of the sacrificing of transparency. And if they keep consuming transparency, they grasp it, they hold it, they make sure it don't ever get out the bottle, like a genie. This is a genie in a bottle. And if we let this genie out the bottle, it may have more influence with humanity, like Aladdin and the genie, where you maybe have a synchronized relationship, humanity and jinn, like we used to. So you could then even consider the jinn a form of a titan.
Wow. let me ask you this, Q. In terms of the rings, I want to know, why is the symbol, like everything has a symbol, like remember the record labels, they all had a symbols, everything has a logo, Nike has the swish. Why why is the symbol for the Olympics 5 rings? Because as soon as I seen the rings, a person who grew up in the 90s and the 80s, they think about Sonic the Hedgehog collecting rings. So let's talk about the rings. What's the science behind the Olympics having rings, and one of the most popular video games of all times, who was also blue, Sonic, collecting gold rings, and these people are collecting gold medals? Q.
And keep in mind, Sonic was known as the devil dog. That was another little term they would use
Yeah,
for Sonic. But
yeah.
you get on. So the rings, like I said, are representation of the 5 states of matter, the black one being in the middle, because the black one, of course, being in essence a representation of ether or sleeping matter or sleeping plasma in a better sense. And this is that sacrifice that I'm talking about. You
Okay.
basically, you're not sacrificing. Okay, nothing dies. It just goes somewhere else. Energy not created or destroyed, transferred or transformed. That's the only options. It's either going to get transferred somewhere or it's going to get transformed where it's at. Transferred somewhere, transformed where it's at.
Right.
So the entity that I was talking about would be a representation of basically consuming. All right. Word pan is napped backwards.
Okay.
So I often say this entity that would sacrifice itself, another name for it is Pan. The goal is, it is to make all of the special shining ones, those that contain ether, that contain this resting cosmos, to keep us asleep. And the only way they're able to keep us asleep is by linking to us. And this is what those other rings are. They're attachments. They Cuban linked us. They linked us to the Saturn's cube. And every time we use a cube-like structure, we are deepening our illusionary state into the cube. The refrigerator is a cube. The microwave is a cube. The TV is a cube. Your cell phone is a cube. When you start realizing how many cubes we're dealing with, we're in the qubit. Now, that's a term for quantum as well. To measure in the quantum entanglement is measured by qubits. So it's really getting us to the point of becoming quantum. It's basically you compress something long enough, it explodes. And the explosion or the Big Bang is a representation of quantum. And if we reach quantum entanglement with ourselves, we reach the multiple versions of ourselves that either experience it already and can give us game, or entities that are doing different shit, or versions of us that are doing different shit that we now can access, that we can actually dial into the version of us that's flying. And if you can get your mind and your body to accept what you're seeing, the body can't decipher the difference between a dream and reality. The mind can. So if you get the mind and the body to kind of get in sync with the vision it's seeing, you damn near reconfiguring your genetics. You basically teaching your body how to fly without having to physically go do it yet.
Yo, man, what the hell you did before this show, bro? Cause you going into some shit. What you done did, Q, man?
Oh,
God
I didn't
damn.
like how I came up here last time, so I was like, let me do a little bit better this time. That's
Oh man. So you right now you on your supercell shit, basically.
Oh, without a doubt. And I completely know what it takes to become a supercell. Like there's a format for it. So basically, you have a legion inside of you, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And this legion, if you done right, the first version of your legion is a titan. And this titan can be different concepts. I've regressed people and basically the titan within them. Sometimes it's Tiamat. Sometimes it's Prometheus. Sometimes it's Alelu. I mean, I could give you different names of the entities that are basically pre-dynasties. They don't really get talked about too much. You only hear about, the ones that are champions. But there are entities that are older than these champions. And the goal is, so basically, you have a titan dwelling within you, but then you may have like 8 ops that are trying to keep you away from that version of you. So you basically have 8 other attachments that have connected to you that's trying to do everything they can to prevent you from accessing this version of yourself. because they know if you access this version of yourself, you can't be, there's nothing that they can do.
Right.
It took them a long time to put you to sleep the first time. And then once you know that you're getting put to sleep, can they do it again?
Yeah, man. Let me ask you this. Because you talked about the pre-dynastic. You mentioned the word pre-dynastic. I was watching an old Bobby Hemmett video. I forgot the sister that posted it. And Bobby was talking about the Typhonian Egyptians. I don't know if you now a lot of people who teach on ancient Kemet, they aren't able to really talk about the Typhonian Egyptians too much. A lot of that history Bobby Hemmett talked about got erased, matter of fact. Is there anything you could tell us about who or what were the Typhonian Egyptians, and does this tie in to the conversation we're having tonight?
It very much so does. So another name for the Typhonian order has kind of evolved itself to the Tartarian order. Now, the Tartarian order is said to be a secret empire that rose to supremacy in the 1800s, even in the 1900s. And their claim to fame was building technology. So basically what you see in Egypt is building technology. Now, many don't want to talk about building technology because building technology is really what we're dealing with. You think cops, you think governments are protecting people? They don't give a damn about people. They're protecting buildings, especially Tartarian or pre-dynastic buildings that were created here in other parts of the world. And all they did was kind of build over them. So there are like ancient temples inside of these skyscrapers and all type of shit. They built around some of these very, very powerful buildings. And basically the Tartarians figured out how to use 0-point energy, which is very similar to the Egyptians. So we don't know if it was the Tartarians. So the Tartarians are basically a group of extraterrestrials that come from the Taurus constellation. Now, the Taurus constellation, or Tartarus, was what the ancient Greeks considered hell. So it's actually considered, once again, devil technology or technology of hell. Basically, these entities. All right, this is what I've been told. I've been told that the ancients ripped open a fabric in time, and they've allowed entities known as the Tartarians to enter. So basically, for the last 500 years in our world, we have been raising up the Christian or Catholic Vatican order. That is the most predominant religion on our planet. Now, of course, there's other religions, but as a collective, this is the most popular organized religion in the world. Well, according to these individuals, these Tartarians come from a different reality where everything is basically in reverse. So we praise God, they praise hell. We praise the heavens, they praise hell. Their whole reality is based on hell. Their whole reality is based on the opposition of reaching heaven and actually getting deeper into an earth. This was their obsession.